Hello there. Well, it's astonishing really how power can move so quickly through a system. When a political party holds a majority, like this Labour lot, it's as if it walks through Parliament with sort of an invisible shield, pushing its agenda. Never mind what it told you before it got in, but the agenda they forgot to mention before they got in. And there's very little to stop that agenda. And then they have the gall to tell you it's democracy, that the people have spoken, that the majority in Parliament reflects the will of the voters. And to a degree, it's right. But is that all democracy is? A vote every few years and then the silence. Take our system, the UK system, for example. Here we have the idea of parliamentary sovereignty. That Parliament can pass a law it sees fit. A party with a majority can essentially do whatever it wants. They have the votes, the control, the power to pass legislation with barely a whimper from the opposition. The House of Lords, that can delay things, sure, and the opposition MPs can make a noise, maybe amend a bill here and there. But the ruling party, with their numbers, is the force of nature moving the machinery of government forward with little to slow it down. Now you could argue, what about accountability? They'll say that accountability comes at the ballot box. Every 5 years we get a chance to hold them responsible. But between elections, the government can raise your taxes, increase council tax by 20% and pass laws that make you feel powerless. And there's little anybody can do about it until it's time to vote again. The courts can step in if the government acts unlawfully. But that's not the same as saying this law is wrong or this law is unfair. Judicial review isn't about fairness of laws. It's about whether the government is following the rules. And as long as they tick all the legal boxes, they can carry on. So what happens in between elections? We watch as policies roll out, sometimes ones we didn't vote for, or taxes we can't bear to pay. And I bring up the council tax yet once again. And that goes up every year without fail. What are we supposed to do then? Sit back and just take it. Sure, we can protest, we can all sign petitions, we can write to our MPs. But if they're in a party with a solid majority, what's the real impact of your voice? Or indeed my voice? They're basically telling you, wait for the next election. And meantime the laws are passed, the tax is raised, and the feeling of powerlessness grows. Even within the ruling party there are limits to power. Rebellions can happen. MPs might break ranks, We've seen it before. But how often do they really? It's pretty rare, isn't it? More often, loyalty to the party comes before loyalty to the public. The Prime Minister's a firm hand on the tiller, unless the party is deeply fractured. The government sails on. Even when you get scandals like Boris Johnson's prorogation of Parliament, where he tried to shut down debate, the courts intervened. But did that change the underlying structure of power? No, it just carried on. We talk about checks and balances, but in reality, when the government has a majority, those checks feel weak. They tell you there's scrutiny, PMQs, committees. But when the majority government controls the very institutions meant to keep it all in check, it's hard to believe that true accountability exists. Even in the House of Lords, meant to review and challenge, can only delay a bill for so long. In the end, if the Commons pushes hard enough, it gets through. So here we are, in a system where the majority government rules, with near impunity between elections. We are told this is the price of democracy. But what kind of democracy lets a ruling party dictate terms with so few constraints? To me, it feels like once the votes are counted in, the people's voices fade into the background. The power of public opinion is supposed to be the counterbalance, and I suppose protests and public outrage can sometimes force the government's hand. An example of that, you could say, was the poll tax riots in the 80s, I think, Thatcher's time. But those are pretty rare. Most of the time it feels like the government moves ahead, confident that by the time the next election rolls round, they have shaped the narrative in their favour. And in the meantime, you pay your rising taxes and live under the laws that seem to benefit others more than you. There is a sense of, resignation. That we live in a system where power can be wielded without true accountability. Sure, we can vote, we can speak out, but for those 5 years, the government with its majority operates largely unchecked. We may shout into the wind, but the decisions are made, and we're left with the consequences. I don't know. Maybe it's time to rethink what democracy really means. Because if democracy is more than just a vote every few years, then where is our voice? Where is the accountability for decisions made between elections? Where is the power to challenge a government that seems to act without consequence, simply because it has the numbers? For now it seems the government can raise taxes, pass laws and shape the country as it sees fit. And we the people must wait, watch and hope that in the next election our voice is heard. But until then, we live in a power, or we live under a system where the power once won holds sway and is almost beyond reach. In the meantime, take care. Bye now. Bye bye.